All right, guys, so today what we're going to do is we're going to connect division by a unit fraction to division by 1/10 and 1/100th, which we already know this. So when I look here, I've got 2 divided by 1/10. Okay, so they converted this. So here's your decimal form. Now here it is in that fraction form, and it's going to equal 20. Okay, so I need to follow this. It says there are 10 tenths in 1 whole. So if I were to look at this, I would write 10 tenths to make 1 whole. Okay, that when I take this, there are going to be 20 tenths in 2 wholes. Okay, the reason is because you're going to have 20 tenths, and that's going to give you that 2. Okay, so on this one, I'm just going to go ahead and write this as 1/10. Okay, so there are blank tenths in 1 whole. Well, there's 10 tenths in 1 whole. And then it's going to say, well, how many tenths are in 5 wholes? If I want to turn this into 5 wholes, I would need it to be 50, which would be 50 tenths would be in 5 wholes. Okay, this one I'm going to do again. I'm going to do 8 times 1/10. And again, there are 10 tenths in 1 whole. There are how many wholes in 8, or how many tenths in 8 wholes? Well, if I want to turn this, oh, sorry, that should be dividing. If I want to turn this into that 1 whole is going to be 10 tenths, and if I want to turn it into that 8, it's going to be 80 tenths. Okay, so I've got 5 and 2 tenths, and actually what I probably want to do is we can do this, and I want to divide it by 1/10. So there are blank tenths in 5 wholes. So if there are 50 tenths in 5 wholes, there are blank tenths in 2 tenths. So how many tenths are there in 2 tenths? Well, there's 2. Okay. There are how many tenths in 5 and 2 tenths? Well, there are 52. Okay. Because if you think about it, if I take this to look to see what I have when I put it in the tenths, I can take that decimal away and it's 52 tenths. Okay. There are 80 tenths in 8 wholes. There are, and this is pretty simple, guys, 7 tenths in 7 tenths. Then if I were to take this, how many tenths are in 8 and 7 tenths? Well, if I look at these two, it's 87. Okay. This one is 5, and this one is changing now. It's going to be 1/100ths. Okay. There are blank hundredths in 1 whole. Well, there are 100 hundredths in 1 whole. There are blank hundredths in 5 wholes. Well, there's going to be 5 hundredths in 5 wholes. Okay. This one, 8 divided by, gosh, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why I'm writing multiplication. 1/100ths. How many hundredths are there in 1 whole? Well, there's 100. And how many hundredths are in 8 wholes? If I wanted to have a total of 8, there would have to be 8 hundredths. And guys, if this is something that's confusing, pull out your place value chart. Put 8 as your place value in your ones column, because that's what it is. And if I'm dividing it by that 1/100th, go ahead and add those zeros to 1/100th, and you're going to see that 8 hundredths in 8 wholes. Okay. There are blank hundredths in 5 wholes. Well, there are 5 hundredths in 5 wholes. How many hundredths are in 2 tenths? Well, if I were to put 2 tenths in your place value chart, it's actually going to show me that it's 20 hundredths are in 2 tenths. Then it says there are blank hundredths in 5 and 2 tenths. Well, if I take a look at these, it's 520. Okay. Same thing here. There are blank hundredths in 8 wholes. There's 8 hundredths in 8 wholes. Okay. There are how many hundredths in 7 tenths? So you have to think about it on your place value chart. It would be 70. And then it says there are blank hundredths in 8 and 7 tenths. Well, there's 870 hundredths. Okay, this is where pulling out your place value chart might be something to help you to be able to look at this, to be able to fill in those blanks.